I dropped like something like 300,000 rivers, and I filtered for profitable bluffs. So 300,000 rivers, filtered for plus EV bluffs in GTO poker. And I wanted bluffs that actually made money, not like, half a big blind or something, or a big blind. I wanted hands that legitimately made money. I came up with one situation, which is if you end up with a board texture like queen, 5, 4, queen, deuce, 5, 4 suited, because there's only two combos. Only two combos of 5, 4 suited is a profitable bluff raise. I mean, essentially, like, these things are going to be fairly limited, and we can actually list the situations where, like, your plus EV bluffs occur. It's fairly straightforward. They're always going to be busted draws. Busted draws after calling 2 streets, and your opponent checks. Busted draws after calling 1 street. Calling 1 street, and your opponent checks. Because basically your opponent doesn't have to make you indifferent here, because he had the option to bet. He didn't take it, and essentially you had to pay a bet on an earlier street to get to the future street. And so these sorts of spots are basically the only spots that you'll ever see Pio make money with their bluffs. We can spend a bunch of time on this, Eric, but I mean, when I think about like how to make money playing poker, basically this is the one I always come back to.
Yeah.
And if, GTO is hedging against a bunch of strategies and like everyone's actually only just playing one of them, I mean, I think really the trick here is to try to figure out the way to play against that one strategy well. It doesn't really matter what the strategy is.
You're talking about how to exploit people who are trying to play unexploitably?
Yeah, basically you don't actually have to worry about much. In some sense, it's one of the easiest game plans to deal with, because all you care about is the value regions.
Because they're just going to call the same stuff no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hypothesis here. And if you do find, a situation where they're not calling appropriately, sure, add bluffs. Like, that just makes sense.
And, like, I think what we've talked about is, like, the turn seems to be where there's a lot more bluffs than, like, 3-barrel bluffs. We're, like, double barrel a lot and don't river bluff a whole lot.
I mean, that's kind of what came out of the data, is that essentially, the double barrels tended to make money. Barrels made money. The C-bets tended to make money. And again, like, they're supposed to make money, right? Whoops. Make money. Money. But the river bluffs, I mean, you needed to be really careful. And I think this is actually more just commentary on human nature, which is, I should say triple barrels, I need to be clear. Triple barrels. Because guys don't want to get bluffed on the river because it's really expensive. So what they end up doing in these spots is they try really hard to minimize the value of those river bluffs overall.
And they train with GTO Wizard specifically that situation all the time?
Yeah, I mean, I think guys spend a bunch of time like trying to figure out how to, basically get triple barrel bluffs at the right frequencies and call down at the right frequencies, which is just creates this coupled strategy where like nothing actually makes money.
You try to make sure you call down at the right frequency?
Truthfully, I don't. I tend to rely more on data on this stuff.
And then if you don't have the data, you do.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to pay some attention. But truthfully, I mean, I've played a lot of poker over the years, Eric. I'm going to be... Yeah. I'm going to have a pretty good sense of, like, how this thing's going to roll out based on player type and situation. So, like, this is a small flop bet from the button. You can see that, if it actually blinks out on the river, this is the spot where they've been getting a little bit out of line. But if it doesn't blank out on the river, if the board's paired or a rivered flush or a 3 flush, I mean, they just bluff about the right frequency. So, I mean, in some sense, like all the Luke Johnson or Nuno Alvarez hemming about blockers is probably like roughly the right idea there, because you're really just playing blackjack. You're trying to find the perfect combo that might be overbluffed against. But if you look at like bigger sizings, I mean, if the guy bet 3/4 pot on the flop, I mean, you just don't want to call the bet. Like, you just need 2 pair. Like, that's, you know, that's how that's going to break down. You need a hand that beats a good top pair. You need to beat 2 pair. Like, that's it. Like, you basically need to have 2 pair. And then if you look at kind of the middling sizings here, you get pretty much the same, kind of the same pattern. Like, the only guys that are really actively studying bluffing are the tags who are starting with a small bet on the flop a bunch. Like, the rest of the pool is still playing like roughly the same strategy they did 10 years ago. And so when I think about river call downs, I'm really not like super stoked to make them unless there's a specific idea or read on a specific player type. Or, you know, or my hand strength obviously justifies the call down.